Good morning. How's it going? How are you all doing today? It is a wonderful Monday. Just stretching out here before we start the live. I love all of you. Do we got a lot to talk about today? You know, things just keep getting crazier and crazier in this country. You know, like, it just truly does. SNL has become reality. SNL has become reality. And the fact is, we literally have a president that says that he is not sure. He says, I don't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. I think if you ask any fourth grader, they would say, what's the biggest law, or what's the document that governs the land? Most will say like the Declaration of Independence or like the Constitution. I don't think that Trump would. He would say, the president operates the law of the land. We literally have a document called the Constitution that lays out the structure, the process for how our government functions, how it is set up. And he literally said that he is not sure. He says, I don't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. When a president takes an oath of office, they lay their hand on their desired book of choice. Most presidents have always done it on the Bible. And they say that I solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution to the best of my ability, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how Donald Trump can fail such an open book test. But yet, here we are. He took an oath. Kantisa, good morning. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, the fact is, I have seen some of the most wild attempted defenses of this, too. Hey, Lisa, hello. I'm so sorry. I know I need to get back with you. I need to get back with a lot of different people. I appreciate every single one of you. Have you seen this? Oh, God, you really can't make this stuff up, y'all. You can't. So this was an interview that Trump did with Kristen Welker, and it was aired yesterday. I don't know if it was conducted live yesterday, but it aired yesterday. And this moment really stuck out to me because, for a number of reasons. The same way the Declaration of Independence thing stuck out. When Donald Trump was asked what the Declaration of Independence means to him, he said the first word that it means to him is unity. We were literally divorcing ourselves from England. Like, the first word you should think of is not unity. Anyway. But let me get into this here because, oh God, this is just wild. And sorry, I sit in my car in a parking lot when I do these lives. So if you hear noise in the background, forgive me. So, Trump stuns people by saying, I don't know, when asked directly by Kristen Welker from NBC, saying that he doesn't know if he needs to uphold the Constitution. When a president takes an oath of office, the first thing that they do is say they solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution to the best of their ability. For Donald Trump to truly not know that is actually like, I have no words. This is like the first thing a president should know, is that you're supposed to uphold and defend the Constitution. That's how it works. But yet, he doesn't know. So President Donald Trump said, I don't know. I don't know. Let me tell you, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask my attorney. When asked directly whether he needs to uphold the Constitution. In a stunning exchange during his Meet the Press interview, which aired Sunday, NBC's Kristen Welker questioned him about the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and more broadly about migrant deportations. Kristen Welker said, quote, your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President? Like, everyone here within the United States deserves due process. He goes, I don't know. Okay, let me lay it out for you. In the Constitution, there are literally amendments talking about how every single person, citizen or not, deserve due process, are entitled to due process under our Constitution. That's not up for debate. That's not up for debate. That's just an objective fact. If you don't like that that's in the Constitution, then if you want to change the Constitution, that's up to you. Advocate for that. But the way the Constitution is written is it literally grants due process to citizens, legal non-residents, undocumented people. It gives due process to everyone, like an audience watcher at Oprah. You get a free car, you get a free car, you get due process, you get due process. Everyone in this country gets due process. It is not limited by whether you are a citizen or not. That is just how it works. Under the 5th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution, it specifically lays it out. But of course, Donald Trump doesn't even know what the Constitution is. He probably thinks that that's some sort of medical term. Like, jeez. Anyway, he says, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. You are the president of the United States. How do you not know that it is your job to uphold the Constitution? This is like, for people that are always like talking about incompetence, this is the most incompetent thing ever. He literally said, I don't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. Every single president, when they take an oath of office literally puts their hand on a book of their choice, typically the Bible, and says that they solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution to the best of their ability. How does he not know? See, this is the thing. Is he either dumb or incompetent? Or both? Take your pick. And Kristen Welker says, well, the Fifth Amendment says as much. And then Trump argued that the justice system could not handle the number of trials it would take to expedite the deportations of all these criminal migrants. So let me get to that. So as Trump said, it's like, I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials, and we have thousands of people that are murderers and some kind of drug dealers, some of the worst people here on earth, some of the worst, most dangerous people, and I was elected to get them out. And the courts are holding me up from doing it. And then Kristen Welker says, okay, but even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president? And he literally said, I don't know. He said, I don't know. Now, put aside that this is about, in this situation, put aside that this is about undocumented immigrants or anyone. The fact that the president of our current president of the United States says that he doesn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution is literally the most incompetent thing I think I've ever heard him say. It's probably one of the worst things that he's ever said. And I don't mean to be like hyperbolic. Just put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say that Obama does an interview. Let's say that Kamala Harris does an interview. And they're asked a question about whether they need to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And they were to say, I don't know. That is like, excuse me? That's like your whole job. Your job is to uphold the Constitution. Let me show you. This is the oath of office. This is the oath of office that you take. I, President blah, 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 do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The fact that he says, I don't know. So is that, I put in here, okay, is saying I don't know the best of your ability then? This isn't just dangerous, but it's like pure incompetence. Like, we literally have someone who doesn't care about the operating procedures of how this country was founded. Our founders, the people who founded our country, are like, what the actual fuck? This guy says he doesn't know if he has to uphold the document in which we centered the founding of our country upon. This literally, the reason why Republicans are probably not going to try and go and impeach and convict him is because they're spineless cowards. They're not going to try and do anything that upsets Trump because they're literally afraid of him. Like, Republican politicians don't want to prosecute or hold Trump accountable because they're afraid of him, which is such beta behavior. But the reason why things like this are just, I really wish in this country that we would actually have true accountability, and the people want accountability. But because, you know, we have a Republican House and a Republican Senate and a Republican presidency, things like this don't matter. Literally, it doesn't matter what kind of scandals, what kind of awful things you say, the most deplorable stuff, doesn't matter. And this is how countries fall into fascism. This is when you reject the whole document, the whole premise on which our whole country is organized. You're literally succumbing to a whole era where the rule of law doesn't apply. It's only what a king says. We literally fought to separate ourselves from England, to get rid of an authoritarian leader. And now we've literally become the thing that we supposedly condemned. We literally have become the exact same thing that we supposedly condemned. Also, if you're enjoying the stream so far, please make sure to share the live, like the stream. I love all of you. So, I mean, forgive me if I seem a little bit just absolutely frustrated with the fact that our current president says that he does not know. He says, I don't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. That is like the first thing ever. It literally is infuriating. But what's even more infuriating is the fact that, like, there are people who try and defend him. So before I get to that, it's like Trump made Canada liberal again. Trump made Australia liberal again, which, by the way, for those people who don't know, Australia and Canada were set to have conservative leaders, presidents, prime ministers. And then the election of Donald Trump is part of the reason why Australia recently just re-elected their liberal leader, and Mark Carney is now the Prime Minister of Canada after the Conservatives had a huge lead there. But I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Also, I was just looking at the comments on this specific article. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, 0 felonies. Trump, 34 felonies. Yeah. GOP platform 2026. What constitution? Literally, like, but, this was another one. The president does not know he has to uphold the Constitution, which he swore to do when he took the oath to office. He is unfit and should immediately be impeached. The fact that, like, when someone says that they're not sure whether they have to uphold the Constitution, it's baffling to me. I want to point out two things here. Not only does the president swear an oath to get into office saying that they will, to the best of their ability, protect and defend the Constitution, uphold it. The fact that, like, he doesn't understand the elements of what is in the Constitution. A lot of people know certain amendments. You know, the First Amendment, which is like free speech, free press, freedom to organize, stuff like that. You know, we all have those rights as citizens. We also have those rights as people. It's not just citizens. Everyone within the borders, within the territory of America, is bound to the Constitution. So everyone is bound to our laws, but also given our freedoms. So what that means is that undocumented immigrants, legal non-residents, protected non-citizens, have all of they're subject to the laws within our borders, but also subject to the freedoms within our Constitution and our borders. So what does that mean? It means that everyone is bound to the freedoms, but also bound to the laws under our country. So let me show you what one of those laws talks about. Hold on a second. Are you all familiar with the hold on a second. You all familiar with the Fifth Amendment? A lot of people know the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, those kinds of things. The Fifth Amendment literally says, if Donald Trump would actually bother to read the Constitution that he says he's not sure whether he has to uphold, the Fifth Amendment literally says, quote, no person, doesn't say citizen, it says person, shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment of indication of grand jury, except in cases arising in the land of naval forces, goes into talking about double jeopardy, being tried for the same offense, blah, blah, blah. But look at this. It says that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The founders specifically chose the word person, not citizen. Person. That's a big thing because, again, it talks about how everyone within the United States is subject to the freedoms in which our Constitution grants, but also the laws in which all of our people in this country, citizen, non-citizen, legal, undocumented immigrant, must follow. But what's so dangerous is that literally, even though the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment talking about saying, nor shall any state deprive any person of life. Now up here, it talks about how some people born here in the United States, it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof and thereby are citizens. So everyone born here is a citizen. It talks about that. It says, nor shall we make any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens. Then it says, nor shall the state deprive any person. Notice how they changed it from citizen to person. Person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. So what that is saying is that everyone, whether you're a citizen or not, is given the rights, the freedoms, but also are given the limitations of our law. So what that means is that you can't just deport someone based on an accusation. You can't just claim that someone is dangerous. You have to have a trial. You have to have it heard out in court. So how this relates back to Donald Trump saying that he doesn't know the Constitution? He's like, I don't know. I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution. I don't know. Kristen Welker literally asked him, again, this is how the exchange goes. I said, I don't know whether he has to and needs to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president. Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserves due process. Do you agree, Mr. President? That should be like an obvious yes, because it's guaranteed in the Constitution. But then he says, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Kristen Welker then is like, well, if you read the document, the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment, says as much. And then Donald Trump expresses that, hey, we have so many people here that are undocumented that, it's not efficient for us. We just need to deport all these people because of that. So screw the Constitution, screw the freedoms for a certain subsection of the population because it helps me expedite my agenda, is basically what he's saying. He's saying, I'm okay with violating the Constitution if it means that I can deport all these people I don't like. The founders literally set it up to stop that from happening. Trump argued that the justice system could not handle the number of trials it would take to expedite the deportations of criminal migrants. So you're saying, oh, it would take so long for us to deport all of these people. I mean, who cares about due process? Who cares about due process? The founders cared about due process. let me just ask you all in the chat. And by the way, if you're seeking to get my attention, I literally have the chat hidden away. So I'm not even seeing what you all are saying. I'm going to guess that most of the chat is just prolifically populated with all these obnoxious trolls. I don't do this to reach them. I do this to reach the quiet viewers who who are so amazing that just like put on the show and just listen while they're like driving to work or making the kids lunches. I love all of you. Have you ever been accused of something that you didn't do? Accused of like a negative thing that you didn't do? Maybe you've been accused of a crime that you didn't commit. Maybe you were accused of something that, someone was trying to frame you for. It's not a good feeling. Now tell me, are accusations evidence? Are accusations evidence? Is a claim evidence? Is a claim evidence? No. No. If you make a claim, then you need evidence to back it up. It's how it always works. The reason I say all of this is that what the Trump administration is doing is accusing anyone that they don't like as being a danger to the United States and deporting them, but also not giving them a chance to then have their case heard before a judge, having due process. We cannot decide to pick and choose for who due process is guaranteed to. That's not how that works. You cannot pick and choose whose voice matters or whose day in court matters. Like, the legal system cannot say, oh, well, you like pineapple on pizza, so we're not going to have your case heard before the court. Now, you're like, well, that's kind of silly. But my point is the judicial system cannot decide to pick and choose when due process is to be granted. It's granted automatically for everyone, regardless of whether you are a citizen or not. Which makes it all the more infuriating when Trump humpers literally go through and post crap like this. This person's their name is literally Angel Gal, which is wild. Democrats claim illegal aliens get due process. No due process under the Constitution is for U.S. citizens only. That's objectively not true. They clearly have not read the Constitution. This goes way more than just Republican, Democrat. This is literally a disinformation project by MAGA in order to facilitate an authoritarian fascist takeover of the United States. This isn't playing by the rules. This is literally trying to eliminate the rules for the plans for this authoritarian dictator to take over. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm just pointing it out. The fact that the right-wing media doesn't understand and they brainwash their people into thinking that the Constitution doesn't grant privileges or grant freedoms to everyone is literally a misinformation and disinformation tactic. You don't have to like that the Constitution does this. If you don't like that, then advocate for it to be changed. You can't just pretend it doesn't exist. That's not how that works. Okay, my phone is getting really, really hot, so I'm going to have to turn on my car to cool it down for a little bit. It is just utterly infuriating. The fact that like people truly cannot get it through their head that the 5th Amendment, 14th Amendment, all of the amendments apply to everyone, whether you're a citizen, a legal non-resident, an undocumented person. Hold on. Sorry, my phone was trying to my Bluetooth was trying to or my phone was trying to connect to the Bluetooth in my car. The Constitution applies to everyone, regardless of your citizenship status. If you don't like that fact, if you don't like that that's how the Constitution wrote it, then fine. Literally advocate for it to be changed. I don't think that's an okay change to make. But you can have that debate. But the Constitution, the way that it's written, says that no person shall be deprived of their life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. It says it in the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. The fact that our president doesn't even know what the Constitution says is such a danger. It shows that he can't take care or at least do his job whatsoever to protect the citizens, because he doesn't even know which document he's trying to reference for protecting America. This is a danger to the lives of everyone, regardless of your political affiliation. The fact that our leader truly doesn't even know that the Constitution is the thing that he is supposed to follow. The Constitution is the document in which everyone follows. But let me get to some of the defenses of these conservative people. Let me get to some of the crazy things. This person says this is classic fake outrage from the left. Okay, put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say that it was someone on the left that says that they don't know if they have to follow the Constitution. Don't you think that the right would literally jump on that as a great method, or they would jump on that and be like, yeah, this is a great point to criticize them on. Yeah, they would. And also, that would be the right thing to do. If, let's say, for instance, that Bernie Sanders, someone that I like, says that the president doesn't have to follow the Constitution, I'd be like, no, Bernie, that's not how that works. But guess what? He's not saying that. It's Trump that says that. This is where people, you need to take off the jersey. Take off the jersey of partisanship. People are so like, especially MAGA, y'all are always so team red. Stop. Think for yourself. Think critically for yourself. Look at the words of what Donald Trump says and imagine it coming out of Bernie Sanders' mouth. Do you think that it would be okay? No. But guess what? They don't care. They don't care. They're going to, many people are willing to give up their own autonomy in order to serve a cause, because they would rather be a cog in the machine for a wealthy billionaire like Trump to continuously profit than actually have their own self-respect to think for themselves critically. It's actually really sad, because what it shows is that many Americans are okay with being a cog in the machine of whatever gain there is for a billionaire. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Like, yeah, every American should be outraged. It shouldn't matter who says it. The fact that it was said is crazy. This person then said, okay, now play the full clip. Guess what? That was the full clip. It's just, these people have to bend over backwards in order to try and justify what Trump says. Guess what? You don't have to do those gymnastics. Far right, you don't have to do those gymnastics. You can literally just say, you know, I disagree. Or this is something that Trump said that's actually wrong and awful. It's okay. You're not maybe I guess in the eyes of your cult, maybe you are less MAGA if you actually rightly criticize Trump. But see, that's the thing. Have some self-respect. Stop literally just trying to bend over backwards for him. Stop literally trying to bend over backwards and do all of this like mental gymnastics in order to justify his words. Because if it was Obama that said he didn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution, you would rightfully criticize it. And I would be right there with you. But guess what? It's not. It's not. And the reason why my live streams are often full of all these like obnoxious drama-seeking trolls, which I don't even see, is because y'all come back day in and day out, constantly trying to get my attention when you really just have a crush. It's okay if you want to jump over to our camp here. It's not even like our camp. It's just like, think critically for yourself. You don't have to agree with my opinions. You don't have to agree with my analysis or my take. But just the fact is that Donald Trump said, I don't know, when asked about whether he needs to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is the document in which our whole government is literally set up. It is a threat to democracy. It is a threat to the republic. When our president says that he is not sure if he has to uphold the Constitution, and you are defending that, why Why? What about it makes you want to defend it? Because if the conditions were different and it was another person, you'd be condemning it. But see, this is the thing. It doesn't need to make sense to those people. It doesn't need to make sense. The more that you think about politics oftentimes as sports teams, the more that it starts to make sense. Don't pledge your allegiance to a sports team. Pledge your allegiance to yourself. Think critically on your own. There are some people who, people who are fans of sports teams are always going to be fans of their sports teams. They have undying loyalty. Politics is not something that you should have undying loyalty for. Politics and loyalty, literally, that's a dangerous combination. It's a dangerous combination. People will say, oh, you have loyalty to Bernie Sanders. If Bernie starts saying things that are crazy, if he starts saying things that are anti-democratic, if he starts saying things that literally are a threat to democracy, guess what? I'd be like, yeah, sorry, dude. That's not how it works. But guess what? He's not. But guess who is? Trump. And yet you still stick with him. Loyalty is something that is so dangerous in politics. It's so dangerous when you have blind loyalty in politics. Guess what? Blind loyalty was how Hitler arose to power. Blind loyalty is how Mussolini rose to power. Blind loyalty is how Stalin rose to power. Blind loyalty is what you see in North Korea. Stop worshiping politicians. They are not God. You hold them accountable. If they say something crazy, you hold them accountable. It shouldn't be that hard. Politics should be boring. It shouldn't be like this. So stop having undevout loyalty to anyone. Democrats don't even, there are some Democrats who might, I guess, if you want to allow them criticism, say, oh, they have loyalty to the Democratic Party. Well, I hope that is more trust guaranteed based on policy. But I guarantee that if all of a sudden the policy starts shifting, let's put for instance, if you were to take the policies of the Democratic Party and Republican Party and switch them, would you change sides? I sure would, because it's about the policy, not about the party. But many people would just stick with their side because that's what they do. Anyway. But again, these comments are just wild because this person says, not illegals. That's why the Constitution defines them as illegal aliens. No, that is objectively incorrect. If you were to read the Constitution again, what does the Fifth Amendment say? It says, no person, not citizen, person, shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor be tried for double jeopardy. All of that stuff in here. This is what the Constitution says. If you don't like it, advocate for it to be changed. You can advocate for it to be changed, whatever. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree that this is a good or bad. That's up for you to decide, but this is what it is. This is the thing that is so dangerous sometimes about the far right too. They like to take objective facts, information, data, science, statistics, and say that it's up for debate. That it's up for debate. No. The fact that our Constitution says this, that's just, there it is. That's just fact. Now, your interpretation of the words, what it means, sure, that could be up for debate. But guess what? This is not up for debate because it says no person. It doesn't say citizen. It says person. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property. Every single person within the borders of the United States gets the freedoms and the limitations of our laws. Every single person, whether a citizen, legal non-resident, undocumented immigrant, have the same First Amendment, Second Amendment, rights, protections, all of that stuff. They do. It's how the law is written. But that also means that they're subject to the same limitations of the law. So all the freedoms for due process does not discriminate based on your your status as a citizen or not. It's given to everyone regardless of that status. What's so dangerous is that the far right truly tries to take facts and information and literally just spew misinformation. It's so dangerous. If you're enjoying the live stream so far, please make sure to like the stream. It really does help out. I see, a comment indicator. I haven't even opened the chat. I haven't opened the chat. I literally have it tucked away. I appreciate every single one of you that is commenting positive stuff. I'm so sorry that I can't see it. It's always hijacked by the most obnoxious people. When you have a higher number of viewers and typically lower like ratio, that means that it's full of trolls. The reason why these trolls are always so animated in my chat is because I bring the receipts and they can't handle it. They literally short circuit. Also, one of the most wild defenses I've seen of Trump saying that he doesn't know whether the president has to uphold the Constitution. One of the most wild defenses that I have seen is this person that literally says, hold on, where is it? This is freedom of speech. Yes, of course, this is freedom of speech. You can say that you don't know what's in the Constitution. But that's not the point. It's not illegal for him to say that, like, it's not like he should be jailed for saying those things. He should be jailed for the misdemeanors and felonies that he's done. But when the president says that they don't know if they have to uphold the Constitution, that should set alarm bells off, because the job of the president is to faithfully serve the people by upholding the Constitution of the United States. It just shows how crazy people are. So again, let me just do a quick little refresher, and then I'm actually going to dive deep into something that's kind of similar. Trump stuns by saying, "I don't know," when asked directly by NBC's Kristen Welker, "Don't you need to uphold the Constitution?" He literally responded, "I don't know. He needs to be impeached and removed." So, in response, this was an interview that was aired over the weekend on Sunday. And this exchange is really telling about Trump. She starts off by saying, "Your Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says that everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process." Welker said, "Do you agree, Mr. President?" Now pause. Everyone within the United States, again, whether you're a citizen, a legal non-resident, undocumented immigrant, undocumented person, doesn't matter. The Constitution, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fifth Amendment, 14th Amendment, all the amendments guarantee rights and limitations to all people, whether you are a citizen or not. The Constitution provides the freedoms, but also the laws in which people within the jurisdiction, within the borders of the United States, have to follow. So for Kristen Welker to ask this question, like, your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process, do you agree? Is literally the most low-hanging fruit question, because it should be like, yeah, everyone deserves due process. Because guess what? Due process is a right. It is a freedom. It is something that is given to all citizens, regardless of their or all people, regardless of their status, period. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. Notice how it doesn't say citizen. It says person. Person in the Constitution. It also goes in here to say that, you can't be tried and double jeopardy, all that different stuff. The 14th Amendment. Now, the first part of this talks about how all people born or naturalized in the United States are citizens and thereby subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Nor shall any government, any state, make any law that abridges or violates the rights of citizens. But then it goes on to say, nor shall any state deprive any person. Notice how it changed from talking about citizens to people. They go in here saying that, like, we're not going to violate the rights of citizens. We're not going to violate, they are given rights. They shall not be infringed. But then we're also going to say, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So the founders literally made deliberate language to protect people who are not citizens and grant everyone, regardless of whether you're a citizen or a legal non-resident or an undocumented person, giving them all the rights, privileges, and freedoms under our Constitution, giving them their day in court, giving them a chance to have their case heard. You don't like that that's in the Constitution? You can disagree with the fact that you don't like it. You can say that you don't like it, but you can't say that it's not in there, because it just objectively is. You have beef with that? Go talk about it with the founders. If you don't like that this is in the Constitution, you have the right to not like it. But you can't say that it doesn't exist. The same way that, like, you have the right to not like pineapple on pizza. I think it's delicious, but you don't have to like it. But you cannot deny that it exists. You cannot deny the fact that the country of Australia exists. But you have the right to have the opinion that you don't like Australia. You see where you see where that goes? You don't have to like the fact that there is huge income inequality in this country, but you cannot deny that it exists. That's what's so dangerous about the right wing, is that they try to take objective information and make it up for debate when it is not. You have the right to disagree with information that you don't like based on its interpretation, but you can't pretend it doesn't exist. Think of it this way. I don't like the fact that Donald Trump won the 2024 election. I have the right to not like that, but I can't claim that it doesn't exist, that it didn't happen. When people try to take that and say, oh, well, it's just my truth, it's just my truth, it becomes this weird postmodernism that's really dangerous for democracy. It's really dangerous for the way that a country is run. So going back to Donald Trump here, this exchange where he was asked, do you agree? Do you agree that everyone is given due process? He says, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Again, your Secretary of State says that everyone who's here, citizens, non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President? He says, I don't know. I don't know. And then Kristen Welker says, well, the Fifth Amendment says as much. But Trump argued that the justice system could not handle the number of trials it would take to expedite the deportation of criminal migrants. So he goes on to say, I don't know. It seems it might say that, but you're talking about that we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people here on earth. And I was elected to get them out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it. Okay, pause. Let's just take Trump's words. He's saying that we'd have to have 1 million to 2 million to 3 million trials. Okay. So it's obviously him citing how many undocumented people he's attempting to deport. It's literally in the tune of millions. Now, I don't know how many undocumented people are here, but then he goes on to say that we have thousands of people who are murderers and some drug dealers. So he's admitting that not all undocumented people are dangerous criminals, yet he's deporting them anyway. Which I want to point out, because I want to say that, and I'm going to show you the evidence later on, literally by the data, even collected by red states like Texas, undocumented people, undocumented immigrants, have a lower crime rate and conviction rate than US citizens. If you are so afraid of undocumented people for the purpose of crime, then you should be 2 or 3 times as afraid of your fellow US citizens, because US citizens commit comparatively more crime than undocumented people. It's not just borne out by whatever sort of like liberal think tank. I got sources from Texas, the FBI, under Trump, as well as the Cato Institute. They literally all of them show that undocumented people have a lower crime rate. Not saying it doesn't exist, but if you are so concerned about crime, you should be 2 or 3 times more afraid of your fellow US citizens. Now, with all of this being said, Donald Trump goes in and Kristen Welker then asks, but even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president? And he literally responds, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they're obviously going to follow what the Supreme Court said. The thing is, the fact that Donald Trump says that he is not sure if he has to uphold the Constitution of the United States flies directly in the face of like what he does on day one. Day one of being sworn into office. He's already been president for 4 years. The oath of office. Does he not remember taking the oath of office? Was he drunk or something? He says, I, Donald Trump, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and do it to the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So and I wrote down here, okay, is saying I don't know the best of his ability? Just imagine if Obama had said that he doesn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. First off, you would see a lot of like liberals, leftists be like, excuse you, what did you say? That's not okay. I mean, for Pete's sake, Democrats, liberals, people on the left hold each other so accountable that when Biden had a bad debate performance, they literally tossed him out and put in Kamala Harris. Like, one of the things is that the left can be so overly critical of everyone within the left camp. How else do you think that, like, why do you think that there's so many factions a part of the left? But the thing is, like, the fact that the right cannot admit that Trump said this is just baffling to me. It's baffling to me. They refuse to take off the jersey. They refuse to think critically for themselves. But then if it was the other side, they would be screaming from the rooftops. Because again, they don't want a country that's fair, equal. They don't want to play by the same rules. It's heads I win, tails you lose politics. There doesn't need to be any equal egalitarian setup. Because these people don't want to live in a free country. They don't want to live in a country that is free and fair for all people. They want supremacy. They want to be above. They want to be better than other people. Anyway. Continuing on here. That was just the most wild thing. I don't understand. I don't know what else to say about it. I truly don't. And the fact that so many people continue to just like defend him is just irredeemable to me. So Trump takes an oath to defend the Constitution, but now claims he doesn't have in certain circumstances to uphold it. Wow. With all of this being said, I want to dive into some of the data here. There's this prolific belief that immigrants are so dangerous. Undocumented immigrants are so dangerous to the country. This could not be further from the truth based on the data, the science, the statistics, and the facts that have been borne out, even by right-wing studies. Debunking the Myth of Immigrants and Crime. This is from the American Immigration Council. This was one study that they specifically cited. They compared crime data, demographic data from 1980 to 2022, the most recent data available, a huge composition of a lot of different stuff. The data showed that as immigrant share of the population grew, the crime rate declined. In 1980, immigrants made up 6.2% of the US population, and the total crime rate was 5,900 crimes per 100,000 people. Now in 2022, it actually then, you had the share of immigrants double basically to 13.9%, but you had total crime drop about 60.4%, 2,335 crimes per 100,000 people. Specifically, the violent crime rate fell by 34.5%, and the property crime rate fell by 63.3%. Let me just put that into, let me just put it here, and then I'll show you some graphics about it. Again, in 1980, there were 6.2% undocumented immigrants. 2022, 13.6 undocumented immigrants. The crime rate was higher in 1980 with less immigrants. It is lower with immigrants. So as immigrants' share increases, violent crime decreases. It's just borne out by the data. They used this thing called beta regression analysis from all 50 states. The result shows no statistically significant correlation between immigrant share of the population and the total crime rate in any state. Now, you're like, oh, well, I want more evidence. I want more evidence. I'll actually show you. This is what the rate looks like. I know it's really hard to see because the font is so small. That really green, neon green color is the number of violent crimes per 100 people. So it's basically gone down. The blue line, or it's basically stayed the same. You see that blue line that trends upward? That's the share of undocumented people in the country. Now you see the black and the sort of dark green line? That's the number of property crimes and the number of total crimes per 100 people. It's been going down. So as there's more immigrants in the country, foreign-born share, you can see how the crime rate decreases. It's just borne out by the data. You don't believe that one? Okay, that's fine. Let's go and actually look at some other things. This is additional information. For example, a 2022 study published in Criminology looked at homicides by county between 2000 and 2015 and found higher shares of immigrants were unrelated to homicide rates. So furthermore, upon examining new destination counties that had a small share of immigrants than national average, but a higher share than the national average, the authors found that each percentage increase in share of immigrant residents was associated with a 0.3% decrease in the homicide rate. Basically saying that the more that a county had more undocumented people, the less crime there was. Put yourself in the shoes of an undocumented person. You're not in the country legally. You want to be a citizen. You're trying to go through the process. Sometimes can take years. There are so many people that are so afraid of being deported that they're not going to risk it for the biscuit. They're not going to do any sort of crime because then that could be on the record and easily get them deported. Now, I know that me saying put yourself in the shoes of an undocumented immigrant, I know that many right-wingers are not going to have any empathy to do that whatsoever. But for those of you who do, for those of you who actually do, don't you think that you would be super, 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 super careful if you're living in a country and you are undocumented? You're like, I want to make sure that I do everything by the law, by practice, so that I am not flagged for deportation. So that I can go through the process for as long as it takes to become a citizen. You're not going to jeopardize it by doing crime. And that's basically also what some of these other scientific studies show. Continuing on here. Furthermore, Using a sample of 1,052, or 9%, of U.S. Census designated places across the country, criminologists from the University of Arkansas found that each percentage increase in the foreign-born population was associated with, on average, a 2.5% decrease in the number of homicides, a 2% reduction in the number of assaults, a 1.2% decrease in the number of burglaries, a 0.7% reduction in the number of larcenies. It goes on and on. You have more here. This is from the Cato Institute. You all know what the Cato Institute is? The Cato Institute is like this big libertarian, like, they don't believe that there should be lots of laws. Libertarians basically don't like the fact that government exists. They're very like, you trust people to do what is best for them. They are very much like hands-off style government. They are a big think tank that also leans very right. Very right. They even have data saying, hey, illegal immigrant murders in Texas 2013 through 2022, guess what? Most research finds that all immigrants in the United States are less likely to commit crime or be incarcerated than native-born Americans. I don't necessarily like how they say native-born Americans because that's kind of similar to Native Americans. Americans born in the United States is what they mean. I'll show you here. This is data coming out from Texas, a red state. Illegal immigrants were 26% less likely than US-born citizens to be convicted of homicide, and legal immigrants were 61% less likely. So it's talking about how, like, there's less crime. Less crime. The conviction and arrest rate of illegal and legal migrants separated and together were lower than those of US-born Americans for homicide and all crimes in Texas during the 2013 and 2022 period. Why would the state of Texas why would they lie? Why would they lie on this study? Like, even when the data comes out from a red state, you're going to have people that just deny it. They're just going to say, oh, that's woke, they're doing this, blah, 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 blah. Why would Greg Abbott, why would the Republican state of Texas lie about that data? Why? Are they woke? No. It's because this is what the data shows. Undocumented immigrants that are risking everything to come here to flee violence, persecution in their countries want to be American citizens. They want to wear the blue jeans and listen to the rock music. They want to be a part of our culture. They want to be a part of it. They're not going to risk doing lots of crime in order to then be, they're not going to risk being caught by law enforcement. They're going to try and be super, like, by the book in order to then wait it out so that they can become citizens. Because they don't want to go back to where they were. But see, this is what gets to the biological mechanism behind many people. They're truly afraid of things they don't know. A lot of right-wingers, they don't think that they know undocumented people, so they are afraid of them. That's what their right-wing media has told them. These undocumented people are no different from you and me. They really aren't. They're just people. They're just people without the verified credentials of having the fact that they are a citizen on paper. I guarantee that you've run into so many people, whether you know or don't know, but they are undocumented. Most people who work in agriculture are undocumented. A good chunk of them, like 60% of agricultural workers, are undocumented. A good chunk of people who work in construction are undocumented. A good chunk of people who work in hospitality are undocumented. A lot of people who work in warehouses or in factories are undocumented. There's a lot of people who work in nursing homes even, just as aides. They care for elderly people, are undocumented. There are many small businesses, local small businesses that are either grocery stores or restaurants that are run by people who are undocumented. What, when you get down to it, what's the biological mechanism of fear behind someone who's undocumented? You fear that they are somehow, in some way, a danger to you. How? When simultaneously the data shows that these people truly, like, the more that there are of undocumented people, there's less crime. But also, let me put into perspective here this. This is from the Cato Institute, again, a right-leaning libertarian think tank that assembled data from Texas from 2013 to 2022 that showed, hey, look at this. It says native-born Americans. Just think of that as U.S.-born Americans. I don't like the fact they say native-born. But it just basically means the same thing. It shows homicide conviction rates by immigration status per 100,000 residents. There's 4.9% per 4.9 people, let's just say 5 people, per 100,000 residents in Texas. So they have a higher conviction rate than illegal immigrants or even legal immigrants. I just want to put that out there. When it comes down to it, you don't have, and guess what? Guess what? Conversely, there are way less of these people in this group. So you have a lot of people in this country that, of course, are citizens. Most people in the country are citizens. But, like, there's always this concentration on this group of people. But in reality, the people who do the most crime are U.S. citizens. So wouldn't it be more realistic for you to fear the crime of your fellow U.S. citizens? But like any magician, it's a combination of absolute misdirection. The reason why right-wing media that's owned by billionaires, they attempt to blame trans people, to blame Mexican people, Hispanic people, fearmonger about gay people, is because they're looking for a scapegoat so that they can blame and pin everything on. So that they can steal all of your money, doge your job, take away part of your retirement account, and then run out the door with all the money. Don't be a victim of the misdirection ploy by the government trying to blame groups of people for something. If you want to blame a group of people, it's the rich. Doesn't matter what their ethnicity is, doesn't matter their sexuality. No, it's the rich that get away with all of it. So, look at this here. You can see how, when looking at the numbers, in fact, crime has gone up for U.S. citizens from 2013 to 2022. Look at this. This is the homicide arrest rates by immigration status. These are U.S.-born citizens. These are illegal immigrants, undocumented people. And these are legal immigrants. So you can see here how there is a higher crime, a higher arrest rate for U.S.-born Americans than illegal immigrants or undocumented people and legal immigrants. So for all of the fear-mongering around, oh my God, these people they're all criminals, blah, 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 blah. Put yourself in the shoes of an undocumented person. Have the courage to. Let's say that you're coming from a country like Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua. Let's say that your family is being recruited to be in a gang. Your kids are being recruited by cartels to run drugs. And you hear about this great country, America, that you can go to for an economic opportunity. Maybe you saw or read books or films talking about this idea of the American dream. You go to try to get into the country and you are met with absolute hostility. Yet you can't go back to where you were because, you know, maybe there's not a lot of jobs there. There's environmental disaster, floods, fires, all of that. You know, your kids are being recruited into gangs and cartels. So you say, you know what? It's worth the brutality. It's worth the abuse to try and join this other country. So they try to do whatever they can to protect their family. Now, it means that they might sneak in without going through the proper process. But think about what you would do. Would you justify breaking the law if it meant protecting your family? Or would you say, oh, I'm a rule stickler. I'll stick by the rules, even if it means that my family's in danger. Let me give you a scenario. I've used this scenario on my live streams over TikTok before I came over here. And also, if you're enjoying the stream, if you're appreciating the information I'm providing, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and like the stream. If you're new here, say hello and where you're tuning in from. I like to get to know new people. Let me give you an analogy here. So let's say that there is a 6-lane road. Okay, you have 3 lanes going one way, 3 lanes going the other way. And let's say that your loved one, maybe a grandma, is on the other side of that 6-lane road. It's not something that you can easily cross unless you go to a crosswalk. And you see your grandma or your loved one start having a heart attack or a stroke. And you are on the other side of that 6-lane road. And let's say that there is a crosswalk that is 1 mile in either direction. Are you going to, so that you don't break the law, are you going to run a mile, go over the crosswalk and go all the way back? Or are you going to justify breaking the law in order to help your family, in order to aid your loved one, call the police, get an innocent bystander to help you? I sure hope that you would protect your family. That's what the choice is for undocumented people. No undocumented person likes the fact that they're in this country illegally. No one. They don't like the fact that they don't have official citizenship. It's not like a source of pride for them. It's a target for them. They just want to be American citizens. Why are they fleeing their respective countries? Religious persecution. Since I'm gay, I know many people who were fleeing. They were fleeing from their country for fear of being persecuted for their sexuality. But also, there's many people who flee their countries because of a lack of economic opportunity. Or there were floods, fires that devastated their communities, and they haven't had the proper economic investment to be able to pull themselves up. Their kids might be recruited for a gang, so they decide to try and get out of there and go to another country because they see America as a great promise. Put it in perspective that they are trying to do whatever they can to provide for their families. And ask yourself, if you are that unempathetic to the point where you deny them the ability to protect their own family. And this is where it comes down to, like, when you look at and you listen to the stories of those people, as well as just looking at the data, the fact that, like, the more immigrants that there are in your community, the less crime comparatively there is. Because these people, again, they're so concerned with being deported that they're not going to risk it for the biscuit to do crime. And so I encourage you all to actually go and look at this information. Go to the Cato Institute. Go and look at this data. It shows here that the more undocumented people there are in a community, the less likely they are to commit, that there's less crime in that community. And so it puts in perspective all the more frustrating and inferiousness when our president says that he doesn't have to uphold the Constitution when it comes to due process. Because the Constitution grants everyone, regardless of their citizenship status, whether they're a US-born citizen, whether they are a legal non-resident that have protections, or whether they're an undocumented immigrant, everyone in the United States, everyone, not just citizens, everyone is given the same rights, freedoms, but also limitations under our Constitution. Our government cannot pick and choose. Our government cannot pick and choose who gets rights and who doesn't. That's not how it works. The founders, for all the flaws that there are, wrote in there the 5th and 14th Amendment, saying that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. No person. Doesn't say citizen, it says person. Every single person has the rights of the First Amendment, have the rights to free speech, freedom of the press. They have those rights within our country. Every single person also has the right to due process. The person who's literally had the most experience with rights to due process, might I add, low key, might I add, is Trump. He is literally the part of 4,095 lawsuits. He knows, like, funny because there's no one in history of the world that has received more due process than Trump. Due process is when you have your day in court. We, as a country, the Constitution says that you cannot deprive any person of their day in court. Have you ever been accused of a crime you didn't commit? Have you ever been accused of something that you didn't do? Whether it is by law or maybe in the workplace or maybe in your friend group, it's awful when you're accused of something that you didn't do and there's negative ramifications that come along with it. Whether you're a citizen or not, everyone gets their day in court. There's a really cute guy that just looked at me. Everyone deserves their day in court. You don't like that fact? Sorry, that's in the Constitution. That's how it is. You can't just run away from that inconvenient information. That's how it is. You have a beef with it? Go talk to the founders. Also, literally, the 14th Amendment talks about, again, how it says, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. Now up here, it talks about what citizens are. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are thereby subject to the United States, their borders, and are thereby citizens. Nor shall any state, any country, government, deprive or abridge the rights and privileges of citizens. But then it goes on to say that no person, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. The fact that our president truly doesn't even know what's in the Constitution and says that he doesn't know warrants, in my view, rights for immediate impeachment and removal. Now, in that case, we'd get J.D. Vance, who is also, in my view, a disaster. You can disagree on that, whatever. But, like, it's dangerous when our country literally has a leader that says that he doesn't know if he needs to uphold the Constitution. He says, I don't know, when asked, do you need to uphold the Constitution? The first thing you do on January 20th when you are inaugurated as a new president, when you're inaugurated as a president, is to say that you will uphold the Constitution, defend, protect the citizens of the United States, and do it to the best of your ability. If him saying, I don't know, is that really the best of his ability? Because if that's the case, he's incompetent, needs to be impeached and removed immediately. Post haste. Now, because it is 12 o'clock where I am, I need to go. I appreciate every single one of you. If you have enjoyed this live stream and the information I provide, it means a lot that you are here. I'm trying to post more videos and stuff like that, although my live streams are really the big thing that I focus on my platform. So if you enjoyed the stream, please make sure to like the stream before I end it. Also, if you enjoyed the stream, please make sure to subscribe. It means a lot that you all are here. I am going to look at the chat here. Good grief. Yeah. Do you see all those people that are all obnoxious? Yeah. You all are incredible. Love it. Love it. If you truly have a crush on me, you want to slide into my DMs, go ahead. Go ahead. So I appreciate every single one of you. Someone said do a flip. Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, this is why I don't look at comments, because they're just full of people that are attempting to distract or be obnoxious or weird. Stop. Do something better with your time. Minding your own business is free. Anyway, I love all of you so much. Y'all are incredible. Even if you hate me, go out and spread some love, peace, and understanding. Go out and spread love, peace, and understanding. Truly do. If you truly are afraid of undocumented immigrants, maybe you should go and talk with some of them. Listen to their stories. Treat them as human beings. Treat them as people. You know? Anyway, I love all of you. Someone says you're soft. I'm sorry that empathy makes, I guess, me soft. You know what is so funny? Let me say one thing. I grew up in a very Christian, conservative Southern home. One of my biggest beefs with Christianity is the fact that many people who claim that they are Christians literally don't follow at all what the Bible says. Love your neighbor as thyself. Seek to be last, not first. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. One of my favorite Bible verses is literally Jeremiah 26:2 or 26:3. Jeremiah 26:3. Let me read it to you. Or 22:3, sorry. It says in here, "And do no wrong or violence to the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow, nor shed any blood in this place." When people decide to pick and choose what is in the Bible, that it's just awful. Also, I want to point out that many things have been added to the Bible in order to steer a certain agenda. Back in 1941, there was a whole commission of people that attempted to add homophobic verses and interpretations into the Bible as a realm of trying to condemn anyone who didn't have a traditional heteronormative love. So you know how they have those verses in the Bible about homosexuality? Guess what? Those were literally added in order to steer an agenda. The same way that religion's often been steered to do awful acts like the Holocaust. So the reason I point all of that out is that when you say, oh, you're soft, I think empathy is a superpower. I encourage that you try to have some of it. Have the courage to try to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Think about not just what affects you, but what affects everyone. And maybe you'll find that the world actually becomes a better place. When you decide to empathize and care about the plight of everyone. Don't just vote for what benefits you, vote for what helps everyone. And if you can't, and what the biggest thing I have is like, if you truly cannot live up to that ideal or even want to commit to it, then please don't call yourself a Christian, because you're just souring that whole idea of religion for all the good-hearted people. Whenever I make a lot of sense and lay out these things, so many people's knee-jerk reaction is to say, you don't make any sense. No, you're just not listening, and I can't control that. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to try. I can't help you if you truly do have the inability to listen. Period. End of story. That all being said, regardless of whether you are religious or not, I appreciate and love every single one of you. The point is, with me saying all of that, is that I just hope that people actually live up to whatever they say they do. And you have empathy. Have empathy. It's the opposite of what we're seeing right now in this country. Have empathy. Care about things that don't just affect you, but affect everyone. Care about things that affect everyone. Put it on a mass scale and look at it. People say, Scott, why do you care so much about reproductive rights? You don't have a uterus? No, I don't. But think about what it's like to have your body controlled by someone else. I'm not a person of color, but when I see gross injustices, I'm like, yeah, just pretend that was me. I'd hate that. I'm not a veteran, but when I see Doge go through and just mass fire all of these veterans, it makes me sick to my stomach. Empathy is a superpower. I encourage that you all have it. Anyway, I love all of you so much. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Elisa, Ellie, Jenny, y'all are awesome. Cherie, Kate, who else is in here? Joanna Tech, Akicha, I love all of you so much. Ginger Monster, you're awesome. Yeah, we're not free until we're all free. Exactly. Shout out to Cantisa and all of my other subscribers in here. Let's see. I appreciate every single one of you, even if you hate me, okay? Just spread some love, peace, and understanding. Put yourself in someone else's shoes for a second. Listen to other people's stories. Listen to the stories of people who have been marginalized. Empathize with everyone regardless of their identity. Just truly spread love, peace, and understanding, and you can't go wrong. Awesome. Thank you all so much. And just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Oh, thanks, Daryl. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye.